the babes.
Today we have two very special guests. We have Kiro and David. Kiro is a high school senior and David is a high school servant. Today we're on our third episode of season 1, which is all about pressure. Episode 2 we did pressure on females, so now episode 3 we're doing pressure on males. So we brought some guys with us to talk about it from their perspective.
Okay, so we're going to start off by asking what our males think about what being a man is and how you guys define it, and how you think our generation has deformed this definition.
I think that you're looking at an example of two lovely men, and this is what you should aspire to be. I'm just kidding.
You're going.
I think in order to best define what it means to be a man, we should go all the way back to how the Trinity made man, and what they said is, let us make man in our image and our likeness. And since we're in the holy time of Lent, happy Lent everybody, I think we can look at an example like the way that Christ approached the Samaritan woman in all compassion and all love, with no judgment, and we should do the same thing. Everybody that we should encounter should always be in a nature of love, and make it a point to make everybody feel like they matter and there's no judgment. And we'll get into like some more details of the attributes of men later, but at a baseline, I think that's a good definition.
And I think the way that society twists our definition of being a man is that over time it evolved to more of a like self-seeking image, when the original, like, what it meant to be a man originally was more about selflessness. So the man that we look at and idolize is Jesus, and he came down just to serve other people. He came down to wash the feet of others, even though he's like the Most High. And I think now it's more about like how much can I serve myself and not how much can I serve others, right?
Yeah.
So it's like how much money can I make? What kind of vacations can I take my family on? What's my job title? Like, you know, do I have like MD at the end of my name? You know, it's more of like a status thing when it's like, no offense to any doctors or anything, when it should be more about service.
So like now our generation has made it more about like the outside stuff instead of like where your heart actually is as a man of God.
Mm-hmm.
So what pressures do you guys feel because you're a male?
I think especially because of our culture, I feel like you can't be bad at anything. You know, you have to be very efficient, and you have to do a bunch of tasks, and you have to have this like facade on that, you know, you're like a macho man, and you know, I think that the real pressure is like sometimes you can't just fully embrace that you could be bad at something. You always have to put on a form of perfection of some way.
And I also think another one is reputation. I remember my dad, when I was little, used to sit me down and he'd say, Kiro, repetition is the most important thing. And then he would go, repetition. And I mean, my reputation has been...
I thought you were saying repetition.
That's what he was saying.
Reputation, to clarify. Reputation.
He's just kidding if you're listening to this.
So I've always felt like I had to put on a facade of like, okay, like I'm cool, I'm perfect, like I have a lot of friends, I'm popular, I'm like I'm known as like you know, I'm like tough, like intimidating, even though it's like all like for show. And it's and any guy who like seems perfect on the outside, that's not who they are like on the inside, right? And like I've had my like reputation like damaged in like some instances, and it's like I think it's it has been like the most like liberating thing for me. And but like as a guy, like even after that, I've always felt the constant pressure of like look good in front of everyone. Like you have to make your family look good. You have to make your friend group look good. You have to make your priests look good. You have to make like everyone that you know look good. So I've always felt the constant pressure of like be perfect to everyone else and forget what it's like at home and what's on the inside.
Yeah. Are any of these pressures coming from specific male figures in your lives, and if yeah, then who?
I don't know if that's the case anymore for me, but definitely when I was growing up, there was a struggle. My dad used to tell me, like, if I was crying, the first thing that would come out of his mouth was "خليك راجل," right? Which is like, okay, well, maybe I'm a on and off switch. I could just stop my crying immediately because I just remembered I have to be a man. And I remember not knowing. So you grow up with that for so many years, and you think, okay, so a man has no emotions, and is not supposed to cry, and can't show any weakness, and has to be a support, and should never prioritize their own emotional health and awareness. Because if you show any amount of weakness, you have you've become not up to par, right? You're not the ideal man. Now you always have to work up to be that ideal man. So no crying, anybody. No crying.
So I grew up with separated parents. Like my dad wasn't really around, but so the pressures that I grew up with weren't really from like a male figure like most like guys have at home, but I feel like that's kind of been replaced by like my like servants. My like I have a neighbor that I'm close with who kind of treats me like I'm a son. My boxing coach, and they've kind of put similar pressures on me, which is no emotion, just get done what you have to get done, and like continue through life, and like never show a hint of weakness. And that's it's done me wrong in some ways, and it's done me right in some ways. But overall, like I think I lacked a sense of or like the like being able to be vulnerable around other people, because when I'm vulnerable, that's when people see the stuff that I'm not supposed to show anyone.
It's like the real you.
Do you think that in your own head you come up with, I guess, lies saying that I can't show my emotions because this person could think a specific thing about me, or do you think it mainly came from your male, from the males in your life that you've looked up to?
So you actually, that question kind of reminded me of a moment that I remember. I couldn't show weakness, but if you look at funerals, a lot of times, you see a lot of the men are like really holding back their tears, right? Like I see all the time, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and sometimes I just want to be like, just cry, right? But I remember one situation, we had a very close family friend who passed away, and I remember very vividly, everybody else was crying, but I would not allow myself to cry, because I had these flashbacks about crying as weakness. And so I appeared very, very, very strong, and then I went around the corner of a building and just sobbed uncontrollably, and then came right back, as if nothing happened, right? And now as I think about this as an adult, I'm like, that was so stupid. And I just had such a distorted image of males. Like, also emotions are God-given, right? Like the emotion of love and feeling. The Lord cried, right? So how can I say possibly that I am not allowed to feel sad? I can feel angry. That's very condoned in our culture, right? Like, there's no problem with feeling angry. But I can't act on my sad emotion. And so I think not just do we have pressure from figures, but we also have pressure from like certain real life situations that we're in.
Yeah, because I was just about to say, what's the problem with being weak? What's wrong with it? Like, in a certain situation, like, why not? What sets the standard? Like, what do you mean you can't?
Yeah, was there a specific person everyone was looking at, and you had to be like that, or?
No, it was just upbringing. It wasn't. Now I don't believe. I cry all the time. Like honestly, if there's like a sad part in a movie,
Okay.
right? And I was a kid. If I was a kid and there was a sad part in the movie, I'd be like,
Exactly.
right?
So-
When I watched,
when Simba's dad, Mufasa died, not
Okay.
crying.
I was gonna say Passion of the Christ.
Oh, I was thinking Lion King.
Wow.
Sorry. Yeah. Crucifixion.
I'm just messing.
Crucifixion.
That is a very sad part, especially in the new remake of it.
Yeah.
It's like more real. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
sad. But the Passion of the Christ, I watched when I was super young, and when Christ was getting flogged and whipped, and there's that one scene where like the spikes dig into his side, and then it takes a second, and then the Roman soldier pulls it back, and Jesus sat there, and I was like, I ain't crying. Okay.
I finished a box of tissues.
Yeah. My couch was wet now when I watch it and I'm older because it's real. It's okay. So I don't agree with it. I think it's actually very silly. I'm gonna say stupid. It's an important podcast and it's respectful. So I'm not gonna say stupid. But I don't agree with that at all. And I think there's one of these questions that's built in here about. A good part about showing emotion, which we'll get to.
And I was gonna say like it's actually liberating. You know, like a few weeks ago, I was going through something really, really, really tough, and I met up with my best friend, Jordan McGilly, and
Shout out to George.
what? My best friend that's my age.
Oh, okay. His
And-
baby best friend.
Yeah. High school best friend. And I was at Panera with him, and I was just bawling my eyes out, and he was like there for me in like a way that usually you would think that like men like aren't there for their friends when they're like, because you know it's not known for like men to really like cry or just be upset, and he took a Bible verse out of the back of his phone and he put it in my phone. He was just comforting me for the rest of the night, and he was just Then shalt thou call, and the Lord shall answer. Thou shalt cry, and he shall say, Here I am. I think that fits the
Trivia.
podcast.
Where's that from?
Psalm.
No.
Isaiah.
Yeah.
58.
How do we
I
know?
actually read that chapter last night.
You probably read it in Old English.
Yeah, right.
That's why you didn't get it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Like when you break those like pressures and are able to be vulnerable, that's the like you can only get close to like as close to someone as you are vulnerable with them. Is like what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Good point.
I totally agree with that, and I think the one time that not the one time, but one of the first times that I told a friend about something that was very personal to me, and I shed a few tears, I felt like I could finally be myself in front of a friend or somebody that I.
Because it feels like he loves me for me, like he loves who I am.
Yeah.
Like he loves Kiro. He doesn't just love like the Kiro that he sees at church or the Kiro that he sees like when we go out, you know.
What would have happened if George saw you crying and he was like, "Yo, man up"?
I would have just threw hands like I would. No, but I know it's not like that. Like it might be like that in the movies, but it's not actually like that.
Yeah.
Maybe if it was like Mark, but
Okay. Last name unknown. So.
Yeah.
We don't know which one.
Well then, since we're on the topic of friendships, like, what is the dynamic in the friend group of a boy? Because like from our perspective, like we think you guys are just psychotic. But like really, sorry, but like, like when you're actually in your friend group, and I'm not saying like the right standard of like a godly friend group. I'm saying like realistically speaking, like
An ungodly friend group.
a normal friend group, like a friend group that is struggling the normal struggle of our age group. Like, what is it like? What are the pressures that like the other guys put on you, or the like? What pressures do you feel are put on you in a certain situation when you're around them? Like, do you have to act differently?
What pressures do you think you put on other people in
the friend group?
I still like that synergetic way back and forth.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have different answers. I'm actually gonna answer it from my perspective. Maybe you should go first, and then I'll answer it because this is what you have to look forward to.
Okay.
Alright, Kira.
So in a normal ungodly friend group, I think
which we don't.
No, that
I mean,
shouldn't be the normal.
we don't have-
The normal is godly, but I'm saying like the struggle towards that godly
Friend group.
state of the friend group.
a normal
That's
friend group
typically
with
something.
sinners and just your normal friend group.
Okay.
Yeah.
Some friends
Let's phrase it like
at my
that.
school, when I used to hang out with them, one big thing was like they would want to invite like girls over, and if I didn't want to like talk to one of the girls, then I'm like a wuss, and I'm not cool or whatever, and I'm backing out, and it's like it was stupid, and I think they just wanted to feel like someone else is doing it, so they don't have to like feel bad about it, and I think another one is like kind of like what I was saying earlier about like reputation. Another one is to like do with them what would push your reputation to like its highest, like its best point, which that means something different like at school than it does for church.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think just the pressure to like just sin, like just do the stuff you're not supposed to be doing. The
Yeah.
pressure to talk bad about other people. When I would say, yeah, let's just not talk, like it's mean, I don't want to talk about that person. They'd be like, why? Like it's funny, like they're a loser anyways, like whatever. The pressure to do stuff with girls, the pressure to go to parties, like all the textbook answers, like that stuff is real, and it's worth fighting, and it's worth like not giving into.
I really do see that the root cause from like all you guys that I serve is like sometimes it's sad, not you or anybody here, but just in general. It's sad to see the lengths that somebody is willing to go in order to get attention in a friend group. You don't have to do anything, and it isn't necessarily just like the bad vices of a smoke or a drink or a sexual relationship. It doesn't have to be that, but sometimes it is just so upsetting to see somebody put somebody else down so hard so that they can get their own like level of gratitude and respect and dominance and all of that. That's an unfortunate dynamic that I see sometimes.
What about even your friends like from church, like or like your friends that you would say like you do have a godlier relationship with? Like, are there pressures even in like they don't have to be so extreme that you feel like are exchanged both ways?
That's a good question, because I feel like my church friends, the ones that I like pray with, and the ones that keep me accountable, are the ones that also love me just the way I am and don't make me feel pressure to do anything that I don't want to do. And also just with my personality, if I don't want to do, I tell them like it doesn't work on me. I'm not doing that. So, but
It takes a lot to get to that like point though.
David, what about your friend group?
I think my friend group, I think we've moved beyond the, let's pressure each other to do things we're not supposed to do. We have like a totally different problem now, which is we all really stink at asking about each other. Sometimes you don't know, is somebody going through something or they're not going through something. You have no idea. And you almost lose your accountability and you lose the responsibility that you have for your friends, which is asking about them, making sure they're okay, just keeping up with them, right? Those are edifying kind of friendships. Those are lasting friendships. Those are the friendships that if one of you moves away, you still have.
Yeah.
But we're not just supposed to hang out and go out to eat and have idle talk about nothing or watch a game or go out downtown. Or we could go for a long time not asking about each other, and at some point in time it catches you totally by surprise, but you slowly drift away. And then you have the awkward conversation of like, hey man, we haven't really been like close. Like, yeah, I have to get better. And it just never really gets there. Because we have lost our responsibility to our friends. Do you guys know, like, even I see it with my parents, it's changing a little bit. But I remember growing up, Daid, my parents called all of their friends. They called everybody. Every Muslims, Christians, Jews, Buddha, everybody. They called everybody just so they can have a chat. That was their time to chat. And likewise, even friends from different religions would call my parents for Easter and Nativity, and they would just go to Sanut Tayyibin, right? if we send a message, we're lucky, right? And I'm going to call out the girl generation for a second. Sorry, the girl gender for a second. This generation of girl. Sometimes I see on my Instagram feed that like everybody has to send compulsory, obligatory happy birthday posts.
Yeah.
Right? You must. I love you so much. You're the best friend ever. The best thing that ever happened. They could have not talked to each other in weeks, right?
Yeah.
Right. But this is a boy conversation. I know, but I just had to get that out.
No, please.
We do it in our own way, right? Like see each other and pretend that we're like boys and friends, or whatever. And we could not be that close
like
at all.
superficial.
Yeah, it's like very, very superficial. And I think the remedy for that is we have responsibility. I can't just wait to reach out to a friend or talk to somebody and just hope that it happens naturally, because it's not going to happen.
Yeah, because I also want to point out that like real friendships, like both parties are very intentional in like real friendships. Like there are no like I'm not tight with David. I'm not tight with like George. Like I'm not tight with the people that I'm tight with like by accident. Like you know, and there's some people that I know by accident, and it's not like I don't know anything about them. They don't really know much about me. And the friendships that I have that I like really look forward to, and I know that are going to last a long time, are like people that actually put an effort into our friendship, and like you know they check up on me, they keep me accountable. I check up on them, I keep them accountable, and it's like I don't know. Like I feel like people are always trying to shy away from hard work now, and now it's affected. Like before, it might have been just like school, and now people are apathetic even in their friendships and their like relationships at home, and it like it destroys lives.
It takes work. Like even if you set an alarm on your phone to make sure you call a friend a day, is it tacky? Yeah, it is tacky. But you know what keeps a friendship going? I think that's important.
So like having that strong group of friends that like loves you for who you actually are, even when you do show your weakness, is like a safe space to take that pressure off.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Because those are the people that like that know like Kira for Kira or Julia for Julia. You know, those are the people that you know when I'm going through something. Who's the first person I want to tell? Oh, it's them. You're not gonna think to tell the people that you're superficial with because you didn't think that they were gonna help that much anyways. You know?
So what do you think is a quality that a man should have? A quality that's very valuable and like men should embrace more in our generation?
I have two. I have one. I think that chivalrous, gentleman-like quality is sort of diminishing a little bit. I remember once, no names about anybody.
Imagine they listen.
Somebody, they're going to listen. I'm going to send it. But there was somebody who one time in our class, we were serving food, and there was like, it was when we used to have our grills in the parking lot during the summer after COVID, like during COVID. Remember we used to have like a bunch of food and stuff?
Yeah.
Those good old days.
That was so fun.
And there was like one hamburger or hot dog left, and there was like 3 girls waiting, and there was also a guy waiting. And the guy reached in to take the hamburger, and I looked at him, and I was like, don't you dare touch, don't even think about touching that, unless we're going to split it 3 ways to give them each one. Right? Like, and he took it. And the audacity. I remember having a conversation later, and I was like, where is
the hot dog?
Yeah, where is the chivalry, like being a gentleman, like putting yourself lower to raise women up, right? Who opens doors for women these days? I don't know. Nobody under the age of 20 does that. No offense.
I do.
Okay, well, there's one. And I think that that's just a very important quality, always being sure that you are being a gentleman all the time. I think a second quality that's important is always being compassionate. And I think that has something to do with my earlier answer of, you know, be a man, no emotion, no crying, no etc. I think as I got older, I realized compassion is number one. That's what changes people. That's what brings people closer. That's what tears down boundaries and weaknesses and awkwardness and everything. Always, again, sometimes compassion won't come naturally. You have to be a good listener. You have to be there. You have to be present. And you have to, when you see somebody upset, you go up to them and you say, "Hey, are you okay?" Again, it won't just come to you. And I think that's probably the thesis of my like talk is put in the effort, because it's not going to just show up out of thin air.
Yeah.
I also have two. One of them is delayed gratification, because I feel like that, I mean, just in society in general, has been devalued quite a bit. And okay, if you see, like, if you see two kids like getting into an argument and one kid pushes another kid, what do you think the other kid's gonna do back?
Push him
Push
right
him
back.
Okay, he's gonna push him back. So, and that's like children. So if you look at, like, you know, like Jesus, and he gets like shoved, do you think he's gonna push back? Like, no, because Jesus is a man, right? We want to do the first thing that like hits us, like our first instinct. Oh, he pushed me, I'm gonna push him back. Oh, I have money. Okay, I'm gonna go like waste it on like Chipotle. I'm gonna oh, I have time. I'm gonna go Sherry.
Sorry.
She was like, "Oh God, I do that."
Is that
She's like, "I do that. I do all the time."
No, I hate Chipotle.
She hates it in the CM.
Me too.
I do.
But yeah, so I think delayed gratification is important because, like I said, like it makes a man to be able to say, you know, I want this right now, but I'm not gonna have this right now. I want to go out and talk to girls, but I'm not going to. It's not my right. It's not like I don't own her for me to be able to go like talk to the way I want to talk to her. I want to. I mean, even just in like in a practical sense, like I want to like eat this food that tastes really good. Well, okay, too bad, because I'm gonna have a wife and kids in the future, and I'm gonna need to be like in shape to have fun with my kids. And like, I mean, there are a million examples. Like delayed gratification is extremely important. And the other example that I had was I don't know if there's a word for it, but being like slowing down a little bit. And not being so busy and being
still.
Yeah, being still. Like I feel like a big part of you know what the biggest compliment to a guy is? It's not like, oh, you're jacked or you're loaded. It's oh, can we like schedule a time to talk? You must be so busy, so no pressure. But you're probably the busiest person in the world. Like you probably have so much. You probably have so much going on. Like it's not.
This is
This is personal.
Right, and
so that's actually the worst thing for me.
That's okay.
No, right. I think that's like, maybe this goes back to the pressure question. We kind of mentioned that a little bit, but I actually hate being busy. But what I failed at was like being able to say no to stuff. I just take stuff on all the time.
Yeah.
And then being still, like you're saying, is literally impossible.
Yeah, because you know, I feel like, because for me too, because I think a part of like not wanting to be still is like I don't want to like sit with my own like thoughts. I'm so like overstimulated. I like pack as many things in my like schedule as I can. And I like exhaust myself, and then and I feel God asking me like, where's the time you put into your relationship with me? You know, well, like the Bible says, like love is kind, love is like love is patient, right?
Yeah.
And if you're in a rush all the time, if you're like speeding in traffic for no reason when you don't have to speed, you know, just like things like that.
It's hard to speed in traffic, by the way.
you make it seem simple. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm guilty of it. Like when you're in a rush for no reason,
Hero actually doesn't have a car these days.
Yeah, because I totaled it for speeding. So back to my point.
Just kidding.
So, like, love is patient, right? And what is God? God is love, right? With no patience, if you're always in a hurry, you can't, like, just the Bible says it's just a fact. Like, you can't fit God into your life. So, I think a manly quality is to be able to say, like, no, I'm not going to go to everything. I'm not going to, like, fill in my schedule with, like, whatever. I'm just going to sit down with my Bible and just relax for a little bit. I don't have to be so busy. I don't have to keep my schedule filled.
So like fighting the temptation to like pace yourself for the rest of the world and where they're going and what they want to reach at a specific time, and like following your own pace with Christ.
Father Anthony gave an analogy. He was saying, when my son was little, he would be running around, like sprinting around the house in circles, and I wanted to sit him down and give him some food and feed him. And as soon as we got him sitting, he would just get up and run again. And I mean, I was the same way. And he was saying, I was only able to like feed him when I had him sitting down and still. So we can only really dissect God's word, and we can only let Jesus feed us when we're sitting down, not when we're okay, what am I going to do next? Is there like, when am I going to get my next paycheck? When am I going to go to whatever next? Like, when I'm going to, like, do you know what I mean? So, like, we have to learn how to like stop being children and sit down and let God feed us and let God fill us up, because then we'll be able to go be more productive. Because I mean, Jesus was he was doing, like, he had the most important like job. Like, we might think like, oh, I can't be still because I have such an important job, and I like have I have this like role in the church, and I do like whatever. But I mean, like Jesus would like his mission was to like save all of mankind. That's a lot bigger than what we have, and he was never in a hurry. Like he was never rushing. He was never doing any of that stuff. Yeah. So it's important to slow down the way Jesus slowed down.
Who do you think, who is a male that you guys look up to? Like, you've been saying, like, the qualities that a male should embrace. Is there a male that you think, like, you look up to that, like, either has shown these things, or a male that has shown other qualities that you guys would look up to?
There's no male that has everything, but when I talked about chivalry and being a gentleman, etc., that also for me came with somebody who can carry out a very, very, very difficult task in a very good, mature way. And so I thought of my father when he decided that he was going to leave his entire life in Egypt and move to America, right? A lot of our parents did that. And I think it dawns on us sometimes, besides Kira.
The three.
I think it sometimes dawns on us that is an extremely hard thing to do, right? You barely speak the language. You're probably well established, and that's where you lived your entire life. And you're coming to an area hoping that it would be better for your children. You're doing everything for your children. And that is extremely scary because you don't have a job. And you don't have probably a ton of money. And you can't speak the language. And you know you're going to work probably a blue-collar, mediocre job for a long time. And you did it in hopes and relying on your faith in God that everything's going to be okay. That is a tough thing to do. I don't know if I can... Can I pack up one day and take my kids and move to Zimbabwe? Right? Probably not. That is very scary. I mean, that is how polar opposite it was. My parents couldn't speak English when they first came here. Yeah. It's hard to communicate, hard to... very, very, very admirable. And I use that example because in the face of adversity, in the face of a very, very difficult decision, not any old person can do that. And I appreciate the chivalrous nature of our parents.
Does it have to be someone who's like living?
No.
You can't use Jesus.
I'm not, bro. I'm not gonna
Jesus is living.
It's cheating.
Yeah, Jesus is alive.
Oh, we got it. Yeah.
Who are you thinking of, Kira?
Xafini. I don't know.
Sorry.
Of course, he's alive.
I really look up to Saint Moses the Black. He, like, I just, like, it doesn't, like, hit me that there's someone who, like, did all the, like, I know that if I did, like, what he was doing when he was still, like, a criminal, he, like, I would just give up. Like, I would think I already messed up too much. I wouldn't be able to, like, turn back. And I know...
It's hard not to feel hopeless in that situation. Yeah, for sure.
That's what I was trying to say. Yes. And
No, you're right. That's
And I know some people at school who like told me like, Kiro, I know you've like turned all this God stuff, but it's not for me because I'm too deep into this. And I'm like, no, I was too deep into it too. Like that's not how you, like, no. And Saint Moses, he like, I think he confessed like 70 times in one night or something. He turned his whole entire life to God to the point of being like a saint, and like he was like, how do I say this? I like that he was like curious and pursuing God, but I also admire that he like went all the way out with it and he like pursued it with like all of his like everything he had in. Because I failed to do that. I say like, oh, God came into my life. He gave me he took my drug addiction away. He blessed me with a job that I really like, and a really good school system, and
great coworkers.
The
Yes.
best coworkers.
I really think that was really tiring.
And I'm like, okay, now like I don't have to try that hard. But he had nothing, and he went all out in his prayer life and his like virtues, and I admire it, and I want to be like that.
Can I add one more thing to that to kind of wrap this up? Is I think that Saint Moses would have had a different reaction if the people that he met did not accept him and show him compassion the way that they did. Right? When he went to the monastery and he was accepted so great in a way that wasn't judging. I think that's also a lesson for us is you don't know what someone's going through. Somebody could feel like they're literally hopeless. And you say one wrong thing, you probably may have lost them for a very long time. But you accept it with compassion and they know that there's hope.
Okay. Does everyone want to say their concluding statements?
Closing thoughts.
It's like you're in a rush.
Someone was trying to set up the mics.
So we recently got new equipment for this podcast.
And we had set it up perfectly. Then someone,
ربنا يسامحك.
no names,
ربنا يسامحك.
no names, took an hour to reset up what we had done and actually went back to our original setup.
But I think it would have been fine if we didn't reschedule it 10 times.
According to
Okay.
finger still pointed.
Closing thoughts.
Anyway,
So
we're
I
just trying to
think-
make this fun and stuff. So, but we love each other a lot.
Okay, concluding.
Okay. There's something on my mind. I want to say, like, one, for the guys watching, I think you're all literally in the same position. Like, you're all agreeing that you want to be able to show emotion and you want to be able to, like, have deep relationships with each other and be able to be vulnerable. So, like, just do it. Like, if, like, you know that the guy in front of you is probably thinking the same thing and has
Boom.
emotions.
Just do it.
So
Nike.
just do it. But just to go back to the first point and to somehow like wrap it up too, we started off with Genesis and how God created man. So from what I've been hearing you guys say is like whenever you felt like the moments where that pressure was kind of off of you, or the males in your life that you felt like embodied those qualities are like men that their eyes were just on Christ and that was the standard. It wasn't like, okay, like what are my friends saying, or like what is my coach saying, or like what's society telling me. It was just, okay, Christ is the standard, and like if Christ can be compassionate and shed tears, like I can do that. If Christ is someone who like descends and lifts others up, then I can do that. It's not what is anyone else going to think, it's just Christ.
Yep, I think pray and read the Bible so that you can know how Christ is in his ways and be transformed and have like the Holy Spirit really like penetrate your heart so that you can naturally be like Christ. People will see you and they'll know this person's different.
And it works. Like if you ask Christ, like Christ,
Exhibit A. That's a good thing.
Um,
That was a guy's thing.
like if you ask God, like don't underestimate. Like if you don't believe me, just try it. Like ask God, like change my heart. I don't like where I'm at right now. He'll do it. You have to, like we said, put in the work and have patience, and it'll happen.
Sherry?
I think the thing that was most expressed for me, like that I grabbed onto most, was how important it is to be real with yourself. like, without really stating it, I think something that both of you had really pointed out to was that being real with yourself is really what gets you, like, to understand yourself, but to also be able to have real relationships with other people. Because I feel like without being able to open up to other people, like, without being able to know yourself and understand yourself and having time with yourself, you won't really be able to get to understand other people and know other people and love other people and truly become the way Christ was.
Agreed. Amen.
Okay.
This was a great conversation.
Thank you guys so much for coming.
This concludes episode 3. We have one more episode of the season on pressure.
Then, that's
That's the end
it.
of season 1.
And then we will let you guys know about what season 2 is. Stay tuned.
Yep.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
I mean,